Hi everybody, how are you doing? It is Friday at 1:07 p.m. Mountain Time on September 9th, 2022. The price of Bitcoin is $21,193. We are up, friends. The price of Ethereum is $1,710. By way of updating you on my personal portfolio, I have exited all of my positions into Bitcoin. I had a whole bunch of Giddy. I was staking to the liquidity pool. I have sold all of that. I am now just in Bitcoin. I've got a little bit of Ethereum in a couple little different places from old investments that I haven't zeroed out. I'll probably do that today, tomorrow, soon. Definitely before the merge. If you've seen any of my streams before, especially in the last week, you know that the merge does not give me confidence in the future of Ethereum. But that's not really what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Bitcoin and the environment. Why are we talking about this? Well, let's jump over to Twitter, where I spend way too much of my life. There was a report that came out from the White House that talked about the environmental costs of Bitcoin. And obviously, we've heard this before from very concerned legislators about the waste of the Bitcoin network. Oh no, it's sucking up so much energy. It's all just a waste. The only reason they can say it's a waste is because they don't like Bitcoin. Literally. They're not saying this about anything else. They're not saying it about clothes dryers. They're not saying it about Christmas lights. Nobody says those are a waste because people typically use those. But people who use Bitcoin, they don't think it's a waste. Somehow the people who don't use Bitcoin feel entitled to look at it and say, well, I'm not using it, so that's a waste. Regardless, let's drill into what's happening right now, all right? This is a systemic, broad problem. This is a cultural problem. This is an education problem that we have in the Bitcoin space, and I think it's so important because this is the vector that people are going to come after Bitcoin and try to kill it with, right? Ethereum is switching away from proof of work, and I have all kinds of reasons why I think that's a bad idea. Proof of work is valuable because you cannot counterfeit energy. You can't counterfeit electricity. At the same time, power exists across the universe. It is a fundamental property of our existence. Anybody with a few resources can tap into any kind of energy and through various means can probably turn it into electricity. Electricity that can power a Bitcoin miner that can contribute to the network to keep the integrity of the system. All right? So it benefits the miner, it benefits the users of the network, but does it benefit Mother Earth? Isn't it boiling the oceans? Let's dive into that. All right. This tweet from Bitcoin Katie. Myth, Bitcoin mining destroys the planet. Reality. And then she tweets this video of a Bitcoin miner in the midst of a greenhouse. I had several people reply to this. I retweeted it. I said, hey, Bitcoiners, we need to be shouting this from the rooftops loud over and over, and we need to live it. The whole system is at stake if we don't make this case. I really believe that. I think this is the thing that people will most successfully come after Bitcoin on because superficially, it's an argument that makes sense. Bitcoin miners burn electricity. Electricity typically comes from burning fossil fuels. Fossil fuels typically give off greenhouse gases, and people make this line of assumption without really thinking about it. It is totally assumed. So therefore, Bitcoin mining equals greenhouse gas equals climate change, global warming, boiling the ocean. So that's the myth, right? That's the typical narrative around Bitcoin mining. Myth, Bitcoin mining destroys the planet. Reality, this, a Bitcoin miner in the midst of a greenhouse, heating the greenhouse, providing warmth for these plants to grow. All right, let's dive into this. I said this is a big reason why it was a very dumb and bad idea to chase out Nick Carter. We need the best defenders we can get, and he was and is one of the very best. There are real enemies coming for this network, coming for us, coming for Bitcoin. The state is a formidable foe, and Puritanism hurts us. Okay? Chasing out Nick Carter, who was better at articulating this and actually had an audience and had a megaphone and was a recognized authority on the topic, bad idea. Because we're going to need people like him moving forward. You got people like Elizabeth Warren to deal with. I will come back to her in a moment. Pay attention, everybody. The real fight is gearing up. I'll repeat something that I heard, that I saw, that I said in a previous live stream from Eric Voorhees. A good Bitcoiner should defend DeFi on Ethereum when the government attacks it on grounds of surveillance. A good Ethereumer, I think they're called Ethereans, Eric, should defend proof of work on Bitcoin when the government attacks it on grounds of energy use. The war is money versus state. The latter is powerful. Do not squabble. The state is powerful, you guys, and they are coming for this. They're coming for all of it. They're not going to attack all at once. It's kind of too late for that. They're going to have some kind of emergency, and they're going to use that to come after Bitcoin. Count on that. Now, The crux of this whole thing, my friend Josh, a personal acquaintance, says, so I own Bitcoin, know how the blockchain works, consider myself knowledgeable, and I have no idea how Bitcoin is good for the environment. Would love some links, resources, articles, so I can learn more. So I tweeted several different links on the matter, multiple that he can look at, a lot of videos because, I live my life through video. But here's how I continue to explain it. Bitcoin mining is uniquely suited and uniquely able to access stranded energy. A miner needs the cheapest energy they can find, and it doesn't matter where it is. They can pick up their Bitcoin miner and go wherever, right? It's just a computer, or it's a row of computers. They can pick up and plop it down wherever there is cheap electricity, okay? So that could be in a remote location that has abundant access to energy, say solar, say hydro, say geothermal. Maybe it's methane gas coming off of a landfill, right? There are all kinds of places that you could get energy that those areas may not be accessible by a population that's using that energy for other purposes, right? So if it is geographically isolated, or if it is somehow not tapped into the infrastructure of the grid in that area, then this is stranded energy. But Bitcoin doesn't care if it's stranded. Bitcoin can plop down a generator and a miner right on top of that energy and use it. Energy can't be teleported. It can't go from point A to point B easily without massive infrastructure investment. And even then, you need cooperation from a lot of different parties. You need to build like substations. And then it's probably still limited to maybe a 500-mile radius. You can't just teleport it from A to B. But you sure can with Bitcoin. You can capture the value. You can teleport it. And then what is money? Anyway, it's a battery for future potential, resources, human energy, human ingenuity. You can use money to buy those things. It's a battery for those things in the future, to save for the future. Think about that. This is a battery for human potential that you can teleport anywhere on Earth. That's powerful. Bitcoin doesn't care about stranded energy. In fact, stranded energy is probably cheaper and ideal for Bitcoin miners. Flared gas. Let's talk about flared gas. This is another tweet that I talked about in a previous stream, but it's worth revisiting. This is from Adam Wright. I didn't know Adam Wright previous to this, but he's the co-founder and CEO of Vespine Energy. Vespine Energy uses landfill methane to fuel Bitcoin mining. Adam tweeted yesterday, 2 days ago, spoke to a landfill today that is flaring 760 cubic feet per minute of landfill gas. They had a request for proposals open for a year, and no one submitted a proposal, not one. They spoke with a consultant, big air quotes, who advised it would not be viable for beneficial use. Why wouldn't it be viable? Well, you'd probably have to tap into the grid. You'd have to make agreements with them. You'd have to turn it into energy on location. People don't really want to work on top of a landfill. But Adam says, let's just say we had a productive conversation. Why? Because you can plop a Bitcoin miner down right on top of the landfill. You can capture methane gas, burn it, turn it into electricity, and teleport that Bitcoin, that resultant Bitcoin, anywhere in the world. This is powerful. This is a huge idea. One of these videos in this tweet thread right here is from a YouTuber who I really like and respect, who doesn't release as much anymore as I think, as I would like him to, and probably not as much as he would like to. His channel isn't huge. He has 6,500 subscribers. Till Mushoff has a YouTube channel that you should definitely check out if you're interested in this topic. Great videos. But he talks about this exact issue. He nails it right on the head. And he included a clip from an interview with Jordan Peterson and Saifedean Ammous, the author of the Bitcoin Standard. And Saifedean is explaining to Peterson, yes, this is how it works. It can take stranded energy or otherwise wasted energy and turn it into power. It can capture value in the form of money and then send that anywhere. And Peterson immediately understood that this was a huge idea. I think most people do not. Right? If they even understand the mechanics of what you're describing to them, they don't understand that this is a huge idea with a cascade of downstream effects, right? This utterly changes the nature of the grid, that you can capture value anytime, anywhere, capture it in the form of money, You have a buyer of last resort, and you can teleport that to anywhere on Earth. This is powerful. Electricity doesn't work by those rules. Bitcoin does. So Peterson really digs in. I recommend this video from Till Moosoff. I recommend this interview between Seyfedino Moose and Jordan B. Peterson. I don't care what your previous opinion of Peterson is. This is an interesting interview. Okay, moving on. Flared gas is specifically interesting, as we talked about a little bit ago, because not only is this wasted energy, but flared gas like methane is bad for the environment. It's substantially worse than something like carbon dioxide. We talk about carbon emissions, we're talking about carbon dioxide, but methane is something like 80 times worse as a greenhouse gas, as an insulator around the world. It's much more powerful at heating the globe. So what a lot of places do, whether that's an oil operation that has methane being flared off or even natural gas being flared off, right? Because if you have an oil well or an oil rig that is pulling out liquid oil from the ground, then you have infrastructure to capture liquid oil. You don't necessarily have the infrastructure to capture natural gas or methane. So what do you do with that? Well, if it's not economically viable to install that infrastructure, you just burn it. You just burn it. So this is why sometimes when you're driving past an industrial operation or maybe an oil field, you will see a pipe out of the ground and it just has a flame on top, an eternal flame, always burning. Why? Because there are hydrocarbons coming out of that operation that they cannot economically capture and transport. What you can do is capture it, turn it into electricity on site, mine Bitcoin, and then teleport that Bitcoin to anywhere on Earth. This is a huge idea. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, so flared gas is an important thing. Stranded energy is an important thing to understand. Waste heat. Let's go back to the original video right here at the top. Bitcoin runs a computer. Computers are not 100% efficient. What is the waste that comes off of the electricity that goes into a computer? It's heat, all right? But heat itself is a product. It's something that you can use. You can use it in an operation like this. You can heat a greenhouse, or you can heat your home or a business. You can heat water, right? It's not like we don't have solutions for this stuff. What we have are rigid minds that can't bend around new ideas, and we have sclerotic legislative environments that won't allow people to innovate, all right? We need legislators to get out of the way, to understand that they are not best positioned to solve the problem here. My real concern is that they're not interested in solving the problem. Somebody like Elizabeth Warren. Let's look at this video. Where is it? Right here. This one. This was a tweet of a video from Reason Magazine. They show a clip of Elizabeth Warren talking about the terrible environmental impact of Bitcoin. They show some newscasts that repeat these talking points. They even played a clip from The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, where he was talking about how bad Bitcoin is for the environment. Think about these people who are telling you this. Are any of them anywhere near experts on the topic of Bitcoin? They are not. They are politicians, they are newscasters, they are comedians. What are they doing as they're talking about this? They're scoring points. They're scoring political points. They're scoring disaster points as news people, because disaster sells the news, guys. That's what it is. Let me tell you all the most horrible things that are going on in the world and get your attention that way. So they are scoring political points, they're scoring disaster points, and they are scoring comedy points. Trevor Noah is not somebody you should look to for your worldview and information and understanding about the mechanics of an intricate system like the power grid or Bitcoin. That ain't his expertise. He's a joke man. Watch that show if you want to laugh, but don't try to garner life lessons about technical systems from that. He doesn't understand them. Moving on. What else? Oh, and the elastic grid. I took some notes because I didn't want to forget. Bitcoin miners are an interesting buyer of energy. They're looking for the cheapest energy, but they also have a machine that you can literally just turn off with the flip of a switch. And it's done. It's off. It's no longer operating. Nothing is hurt. There's no wear and tear with doing that. There's no friction. Energy generation plants and devices, say a windmill or hydro generation plant, coal plant, those are not easy to turn off. And very frequently, these energy generation operations produce too much energy, and you have to turn off the energy generation. Have you ever driven past a windmill farm where the windmills are not turning even though there's wind? Or maybe a couple of them are turning, but most of them are not? Why is that? It's because if they were all turning every time there was wind, they'd be generating too much electricity, and there's nowhere to put that. It's utterly wasted. So they just have to turn off their equipment. But what if there was some way to use that energy on premises that was profitable, that was simple, and when the grid had a higher demand, like you needed to use that energy in other ways, you could just turn it off? That's what Bitcoin mining is. It is a buyer of last resort for any kind of energy anywhere in the world. And when suddenly the grid has higher demands, then the price goes up and the Bitcoin miners turn off at the flip of a switch. In fact, you can incentivize them and guarantee that they will do this because states can pay them to do this. This happened recently in Texas. When they had their energy problems recently, they were worried that there wasn't going to be enough power for people. There were going to be blackouts and brownouts. But there is a lot of Bitcoin mining that goes on in Texas. And guess what? The state paid the miners to turn off their machines when the grid demanded more energy. We can cooperate. This works. This creates an elastic grid. It takes care of methane and natural gas that otherwise are being flared and wasted and are contributing to greenhouse gases. It gets stranded energy and creates more abundant energy. And here's another aspect that we don't talk about enough. All of the talk about green energy is telling people that they need to use less of it. I'm just going to go to the one shot. Me. It's just me now. All of this talk about we need to use less energy, that is very superficial thinking. Because here's the truth, friends. Look at the past century of energy use. It's gone way, way up. And it's in lockstep in developed countries with quality of life. Your quality of life is directly tied to your energy usage. Americans use tons of energy, tons of it. Guilty as charged. We also have one of the highest qualities of life in the world. So we don't want to use less energy. What you're telling people is that, sorry, we're going to cap your quality of life. Sorry, you can't live better. And what you're telling people who are currently in poverty right now by telling them that they can't use more energy, you're saying, screw you, die poor. Sorry, you can't improve your quality of life. We won't let you. No. What we need is more energy, lots more, tons more. Imagine a world of abundant, clean energy. That's what we need. And that's what Bitcoin can help make happen. That's what Bitcoin incentivizes. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen effortlessly, but it can trend in that direction. Systems have biases. The Bitcoin mining system has a bias where it incentivizes people to, over time, find the cheapest, most renewable energy and to create it in a million different places so that it's always around, it's always available. This idea of we have the idea of energy wrong, it's captured really well in a video from this woman. The channel is called Big If True. The YouTuber is named Chloe, I believe. If you're not familiar with this, I do recommend it. Chloe Abram, the big misconception about clean energy. She goes into this and does a great and probably much more diplomatic job of explaining, oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share that. Here we are. This YouTuber, Chloe Abram, her channel is called Big If True, the misconception about clean energy. It's important to understand that we can't just use less energy. What you're talking about is going back to the dark ages in a very literal sense. Brownouts, blackouts, lights out. Because guess what? All of this stuff requires energy. And if you want to have more abundance, what you actually need is more energy. So we need to figure out a better system, a holistic system that creates more energy, that does so in a greener fashion, that is elastic and can bend to our needs on a dime. That's Bitcoin. That's what Bitcoin does. And people do not understand this. All right, I got to go. If you want to dive into my thoughts on this, I have a tweet thread pinned on my account right now on this exact topic with lots of links, lots of my thoughts spelled out. So go take a look. I got to go. Have a great weekend. Go outside, get some sunshine, touch some grass. Tell your loved ones that you love them very much and you value them deeply. And we'll be back next week. Fun preview. Bitcoin is coming up on 5,000 days of a live network, 5,000 days running. Let's talk about what that means in our next live stream. Bye, friends. Peace.